What if I told you that presidents, prime ministers, and even parliaments don't truly control their nations? That the real power, the one deciding when your money gains or loses value, when economies rise or fall, lies in the hands of unelected officials hidden behind polished doors? They don't wear crowns, they don't need armies, and yet they rule the world quietly, through money itself. This is the story of how central banks quietly became the real-world government. To understand their rise, we have to go back to the chaos before control existed, before there was even such a thing as central banking. In the 1600s, trade was exploding. Kingdoms fought wars, merchants chased gold, and governments borrowed heavily to fund both. But one thing was missing: trust. Gold coins could be stolen, governments defaulted. Merchants needed a middleman who could guarantee value. And so, the first modern central bank was born, the Bank of England. 1694. Created not by the people, but by a group of wealthy investors who loaned money to the government in exchange for power over the nation's finances. That single decision planted the seed for what would become a new kind of empire, an empire built not on territory, but on debt. The idea spread like wildfire. By the 18th and 19th centuries, other nations copied the model. Central banks became the lenders of last resort. Their promise was simple: stability. Behind that promise, something shifted. Governments grew dependent on borrowing. Wars were no longer limited by gold. They were limited only by credit. The more they borrowed, the more powerful central banks became. And with each financial crisis, their grip tightened. Then came 1913, the year that changed everything. In a secretive meeting on Jekyll Island, powerful bankers and politicians drafted the blueprint for the Federal Reserve, America's central bank. What started as a private discussion among elites became the foundation of the most influential financial institution on Earth. The stage was set for the modern era of monetary control. The 20th century turned central banks into the hidden rulers of nations. After World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement pegged global currencies to the US dollar, and the dollar itself to gold. It was a new kind of financial order, with central banks as the referees of a global game. But that order didn't last. In 1971, President Nixon ended the gold standard, the moment when money stopped being backed by anything real. From that day on, currency became trust. And trust was managed by central banks. They could print money, set interest rates, and move markets with a single announcement. They claimed this power was for stability to keep inflation low and economies healthy. But behind the scenes, it made them the invisible architects of every boom and every bust. The system was no longer free market. It was centralized market management. The real breaking point came during crises, because crises always expose who truly holds power. In 2008, when banks collapsed and markets froze, governments didn't step in. Central banks did. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and others printed trillions out of thin air. They called it quantitative easing. To the public, it sounded technical. In reality, it was the moment money itself became synthetic. Stocks recovered, billionaires grew richer. But ordinary people watched prices rise, wages stagnate, and housing vanish into corporate portfolios. The promise of stability was revealed for what it was: a mechanism to protect the system itself, not the citizens living inside it. After 2008, the playbook was clear: whenever crisis hits, print; whenever markets shake, rescue. And now, even minor downturns are met with massive interventions. In doing so, central banks became not just economic actors, but political ones. They decide who gets saved, who gets squeezed, and which sectors thrive or die. Their policies shape the cost of your home, your job security, even the price of bread. And yet, they operate independently of the democratic process. No votes, no public debates, no accountability. They are, in effect, the real shadow government, making decisions that presidents only react to. Every time a new crisis arrives, the same tools are used. Lower rates, print more, promise stability. But each fix creates a bigger imbalance. Debt is now the foundation of global prosperity. And to keep that illusion alive, central banks must never stop. They've moved from emergency rescues to everyday management, controlling stock prices, bond markets, even crypto sentiment. Now, with the rise of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they're preparing for the next phase, a world where money is programmable, trackable, and instantly controllable. It's efficiency with surveillance attached. Convenience with control built in. For the first time in history, central banks won't just create money, they'll see how you spend it, and decide if you can. Look around today. Interest rates rise, markets panic, rates drop, inflation explodes. It's not democracy steering the ship, it's monetary policy. And the same patterns repeat across continents. The European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the People's Bank of China, all using the same tools, chasing the same illusion of control. The irony: the more they intervene, the less stable the system becomes. We are witnessing the ultimate paradox: the governors of money trying to govern the world itself. So what can we take from this hidden empire of finance? First, power doesn't always wear a suit of politics. Sometimes it wears the quiet neutrality of economics. Second, every crisis strengthens those who control the money supply and weakens those who depend on it. Third, the more the world digitizes money, the closer we come to total economic surveillance disguised as efficiency. Central banks were created to stabilize economies. Instead, they stabilized control. And the next time you hear the phrase for your financial security, remember, security often comes with invisible chains. Stay curious. Question the system. Never forget, those who control money quietly govern the world.